Untuk mengatasi perubahan iklim dan pemanasan global serta menjaga agar suhu dunia tidak naik di atas 1,5 derajat Celcius, dunia berkomitmen untuk menuju emisi nol pada tahun 2050. Indonesia sendiri berusaha akan mencapai nol emisi pada tahun 2060 dan pada Paris Agreement telah berjanji untuk mengurangi emisi sebesar 41% pada tahun 2030. Nah, tentu banyak sekali yang harus dilakukan untuk mengurangi emisi karena Indonesia adalah salah satu produsen emisi gas rumah kaca yang besar. Di sektor kehutanan misalnya harus diprioritaskan, sektor energi, sektor pertanian, dan tentu saja sektor transportasi. Semua kegiatan di sektor-sektor industri ini harus mau tidak mau mengurangi emisi gas rumah kacanya secepat mungkin. Final Notes akan membahasnya. Bersama saya, Desi Anwar.
Perubahan industri otomotif global mulai dipetakan lebih rinci pada Konferensi Perubahan Iklim COP26 yang telah diselenggarakan di Glasgow, Skotlandia pada November lalu. Pertemuan antar pemimpin dunia itu menjadi momentum untuk memastikan transisi mobil dengan mesin bakar internal ke mobil listrik berbasis baterai bisa berjalan sesuai rencana. Selain kendaraan listrik, pemerintah juga mulai mendorong penggunaan biofuel hingga mencanangkan standar emisi sebagai komitmen untuk menurunkan efek gas rumah kaca di Indonesia. Pemerintah pusat melalui Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan KLHK memastikan penerapan standar emisi Euro 4 untuk kendaraan bermesin diesel akan berlaku efektif mulai April 2022 mendatang. Standar emisi Euro sendiri adalah standar yang digunakan negara Eropa untuk kualitas udara. Semakin tinggi standar Euro yang ditetapkan, maka semakin kecil batas kandungan gas karbon dioksida, nitrogen oksida, dan partikel lain yang berdampak negatif pada manusia dan lingkungan. Sejumlah produsen otomotif di dalam negeri pun menyatakan kesiapannya menyambut era Euro 4 di Indonesia. Salah satunya PT Daimler Commercial Vehicles Indonesia yang telah siap dengan sejumlah terobosan teknologinya.
Industri otomotif memiliki peran yang sangat penting dalam upaya mengurangi emisi gas rumah kaca. Ingat, Indonesia memiliki target untuk mengurangi dan bahkan mencapai net zero emission pada tahun 2060. Sebagian besar dari kendaraan bermotor saat ini masih sangat tergantung pada fossil fuel atau BBM yang tentu saja sangat mencemar. Sehingga dilakukan inovasi dan teknologi baru agar kendaraan bermotor bisa mengurangi emisinya. Nah, untuk mengetahui apa-apa saja upaya yang sedang dilakukan oleh industri otomotif untuk mengurangi emisi, menciptakan emisi yang jauh lebih bersih. Saat ini saya berada di pabrik PT Daimler Commercial Vehicles Manufacturing di Indonesia. Di samping saya sudah ada Presiden Direktur dari PT Daimler adalah Mr. Jung Woo Park. Halo Jung Woo.
Hello.
It's so nice to see you, and it's very, very special for me to be here because it's not every day that we get to visit a transportation or vehicle manufacturing plant.
Yes, thank you for having me today and welcome to our humble Daimler truck production facility in Indonesia.
So this is basically the main facility of PT Daimler in Indonesia, or do you have other plants?
We have head office for the sales organization in South Jakarta, but this is where all the actions happen. All the productions of our bus and trucks in Indonesia.
Yeah, commercial vehicles are basically buses and trucks?
Yes, it is. And we produce usually heavy-duty trucks, more than 16-ton trucks here in Indonesia. And also bus-wise, we also sell 10-ton to 24-ton bus. Here we produce 70% of the bus sales in Vanah Herang in Indonesia for Indonesia.
Yeah, and we are here, and this is exactly where these buses and these vehicles are made. Tell me a little bit about this plant. How does it work, and what can we see here? And tell me a little bit about, you know, some of your signature vehicles here.
This facility opened up 1978. Actually, we started production of Mercedes-Benz in 1970 in Tanjung Priok. However, to accommodate the bigger demand, we moved the factory here in Vanah Herang in 1978. We produced the first bus model in 1979, and today we are producing 4 truck models here in Vanah Herang and 3 bus models with a local production. You see a lot of parts waiting for being assembled for the trucks and buses, and we can assemble all different models, or whether trucks or bus, doesn't matter. We can assemble all the models in this line, depending on the demand for our market. And today we have production of our Mercedes-Benz AXO truck, because
AXO truck.
AXO truck, yes. AXO is a brand that we created for Indonesia because we needed to have specific Indonesian truck fulfilling the Indonesian customer demand. That's why we are proud that we are now producing the Indonesian-specific truck model in this Vanah Herang. And today people are busy to assemble.
And how many of these can you make in one day? And how many of these have you sold in the last couple of years? I know we've had the pandemic in the last couple of years. Tell us a little bit about demand for this kind of vehicle.
Yeah, for demand, maybe I'm talking about like minus 70% of demand reduction because of pandemic. Compared to the normal time in 2019-18. That is why, of course, our sales volume got reduced so much. In terms of production volume, we can make the double-digit production volume every day here in the factory, but it really depends on how we operate it, because we can increase the shift and we can double the volume, so it really depends on how market orders our trucks and buses.
And the last year, how many have you sold? Last year in terms of numbers?
Last year in 2020 was difficult year, so I would say in total sales volume of our products, truck and bus, was below 2,000. However, we are looking at much better number this year and also even much bigger number next year.
Yeah, we're hoping that this pandemic will go away and everything, the economy would go
We are looking
upwards,
forward to, yes.
But what I also notice is this plant, I mean, there are still people working on it. So in terms of the automation part of producing it, and I mean, how many people do you have?
We have about
in this plant?
100 people working in this facility for also manufacturing and also admin, and even we have a design team and R&D team here. That's why we can accommodate all the design demand and development demand and testing the trucks and also manufacturing the truck. That's the manpower we have.
Yeah, and you know, the technology as well as the components, how much of it is actually locally made, or?
We have quite a good local contents percentage, which is about 20% or more.
But 20%?
Yes, and we are increasing this local contents every year because we want to assemble more from the Indonesian supplier. Here you see it's more like people assembling the trucks rather than automation. This is a purely economic scale issue. So if we have a big volume to sell and to produce, of course, we will automize the production line. However, to cope with a few thousand units, it's much better for having people to assemble the truck. And all the parts here is coming from different suppliers in Indonesia and also from our overseas factory. So we can assemble all this here from powertrain and chassis and everything.
Yeah, and it's very important to have a lot of local content. You get the transfer of technology as well coming. Now, you know, Daimler itself, I mean, it's a very, you know, established, a quite old brand. Tell me a little bit, because next door I noticed it's, you know, Mercedes-Benz, and you said that Axor is a Mercedes-Benz. Tell me about, you know, the structure. You know, you have the Daimler and you have Mercedes-Benz. How, you know, what does the actual company
Well, until a few days before, we were under the same Daimler group. Both truck and bus organization and also passenger car organization in global organization, we were one family.
One family?
Yes, we were
all
one family all the time. However, recently we decided to get separated from passenger car. Maybe I have to explain a little bit of background. Whole automotive industry is going for transformation into zero emission future. And when we look into the picture of the future that we have to meet, it was quite different between passenger car and commercial vehicle. First of all, customers are different. We are dealing with the drivers and fleet owners. Their demand is different. And when we come to the truck software platform and the services to offer for the fleet owners and also drivers, you can imagine that's quite different from passenger car drivers and owners.
Very different.
Very different.
The user's different, the customer's different.
And we also need to invest ambitiously on things that matters to truck and bus. That's why the company decided, okay, it's time to focus on where we have to be. That is why we decided spin-off of Daimler Truck. And with this spin-off, I believe we can be more competitive and agile, and we can actually make our future for customers much better with our products. So that is where we are. Now we are a separate company, and we are going into our own path for the future.
Okay, so you can be much more focused, much more efficient, and you're free to develop new technologies as well. Now, you mentioned the net zero emission target. Indonesia, we have the net zero emission, hopefully by 2060. If we can do it sooner, the better. And, you know, car industry, automotive industry can play a big role in reducing the amount of greenhouse gases that we emit. Now, tell us a little bit about, particularly in relation to the current product. I know in Indonesia at the moment we are still, if correct me if I'm wrong, still at the level of what's called the Euro 2 emission level, whereas we see in the rest of the world, particularly in Europe, everyone's already gone up to Euro 4 and even higher. And the higher the number means the lower the emission, which would be good for the environment. Tell us about your efforts towards increasing the Euro level, hence reducing the carbon emission.
When we talk about net zero emission or zero emission future, I think there are two things we need to understand. The first thing is we cannot go there overnight. There has to be steps toward the net zero emission future. And secondly, there are not only one technology, but there will be different technologies available and existing to meet this net zero emission future. In Indonesia, we are having Euro 2 emission standard for the diesel engines, and now we are moving on to Euro 4 standard in April next year. And of course, this is an important first step forward to the net zero emission. And Euro 4 implementation-wise, we are on track. We started the preparation since 2019, because usually it takes 2 years to develop, test, and also prepare for the series production.
2 years?
2 years for the manufacturers. That is why we already have successfully assembled one Euro 4 truck a few days ago in this line in Vanaherang, and we are looking forward to more models to be on the series production until April next year.
Okay, so April next year, we in Indonesia, we have to have the Euro 4, and that's going to be the standard. But these trucks at the moment, are they still Euro 2 or have they already?
Yeah, they are still Euro 2. Demand is very hot in the market. That's why we also have to satisfy the demand at the moment. But I'm pretty sure we will produce Euro 4 truck from April next year. Of course, we are very much committed to lead the way to the emission-free future as a brand, and this is our big commitment. That is why we are ready for Euro 4 implementation in Indonesia, and worldwide, we are actually moving faster to electric trucks and electric buses.
Tell me in terms, I know it's probably a little bit more technical, but how big a difference is it when it comes to just the whole manufacturing process to change from Euro 2 to jump to Euro 4? What needs to be done to the vehicle? What sort of technology do we need?
To fulfill Euro 4 standard, there are usually two technologies widely used by manufacturers. This is all about how to reduce nitrogen oxide, called NOx. The thing is, if we want to make the engine combustion process more efficiently and more powerful, we need high pressure and high temperature inside the engine. The problem is, when you increase the temperature and the pressure inside the combustion, what happens is the more NOx is generated. So these technologies is basically all about how to deal with NOx generation.
Yeah, well, and this is where the toxic part
Yes.
of the emission.
Yes.
So it comes out. This.
Right. The first technology to reduce the NOx is exhaust gas recirculation, called EGR. What it does is it reduces combustion temperature by recirculating exhaust gas back into the engine after cooling it. In that way, they prevent or they reduce this NOx generation. That's the first technology. The good thing about this technology is this is rather simple and rather low-cost solution, which doesn't require any additional fluid to treat the emission afterwards. The second technology to deal with this NOx reduction is selective catalytic reduction, which is called SCR. And SCR actually unleashes full potential of engine, so it makes the best power output and fuel efficiency inside the engine, and of course there will be more NOx created. And this NOx will be reduced in after treatment system called SCR, with additional diesel exhaust fluid called AdBlue. So that is the technology. It's a little bit technical.
It's very technical, but basically, if I can understand it, if you know, when we see a vehicle, they have the exhaust pipe, and that's where basically all the pollution comes out. So with this Euro 4 technology, the pollution that comes up is a lot cleaner.
Yes.
So in terms of the reduction of the NOx, the stuff that we don't want to have, how much can you reduce with this kind of technology? How many percent?
We have to reduce down to the emission standard, so-called Euro 4. So this is not about how much percentage you have to reduce. This is about how you're going to fulfill the minimum requirement for the Euro 4 standard.
And this is all measurable, right?
All measurable. And for EGR technology, this is, as I said, actually prevents or reduces the NOx generation. But SCR-wise, we can actually measure how much NOx is coming out to the pipe, and we can reduce and we can spray more the AdBlue from our system so that we can ensure exactly the exhaust gas meets our emission standard.
Okay, so if you have, you know, Euro 2, say the measurement is higher, and then Euro 4 is a lot lower.
Much lower.
What are the implications, first of all? I mean, is this technology uniquely Daimler, or is this something that we see most cars in the world are moving towards?
You see, I can explain those technologies. That means this is available technologies for most of the automobile manufacturers. And I think it's a matter of choice, which technology fits for which market. And also maybe manufacturers have different decisions. In our case, we chose to have our Euro 4 trucks with SCR because we believe this is the way we can ensure the best power output and fuel efficiency. At the same time, we can ensure the reliability and robustness of engine for any fuel and for Indonesian working environment for our truck and bus operators. That is why we use that. But every manufacturer has their own choice.
But it's different also for passenger cars. I mean, for example, Mercedes-Benz, most Mercedes-Benz should be on Euro. In Indonesia, are they? I mean, I know you're not leading Mercedes-Benz. Just as a comparison, when it comes to passenger cars.
Yes, passenger cars mostly use gasoline engine. And gasoline engine-wise, Indonesia already reached Euro 4. That is why they already fulfill Euro 4 emission standard for passenger cars.
Is this a complicated, is it an expensive technology, just transforming all these trucks? Well, will it have implications on the cost of the vehicle?
Of course, it has implication on the cost. That is also an important point for the manufacturers to decide the technology. As I say, EGR requires additional engine parts. That's why it increases engine production cost. SCR is actually more expensive system because this after-treatment system with AdBlue is expensive, and the customer also have to put the AdBlue, this is the fluid, regularly, like they fill in the tank, the fuel tank. That is why you can say SCR itself is more expensive system. But on the other hand, we also have to give the best bottom line for our operators for truck and bus, which means even though it's more expensive, we believe running cost of the SCR technology is much lower. That's why we chose to have the Euro 4 trucks with SCR technology, because for truck and bus operator, what matters is operating cost.
But what about the aftercare? I mean, will Indonesia's automotive industry, are they ready to receive this kind of, you know, Euro 4 transformation in their commercial vehicles?
Yeah, they need a lot of
because
training.
Infrastructure and education, training.
Yes. The trainings is, of course, a must, depending on the technology. But SCR technology trucks, they use mostly the same engines as now. That is why we don't require any additional training, sorry. However, when it comes to AdBlue filling, this is a hurdle because the customer should be able to find the AdBlue in the market so that he can fill the AdBlue tank to reduce the NOx in the after-treatment system. I mean, we already secured AdBlue supply through our dealers, so customer can buy AdBlue at any of our dealer locations in Indonesia.
Okay, but who are your main customers? I mean, these trucks, I mean, they look quite, sophisticated. I mean, who are your main customers and who will be ready to pay for this kind of increase should you roll out in 2022 a Euro 4 standard commercial vehicle?
Our truck customers varies depending on where they work. Our truck customers are for construction. The trucks are in the construction side. We have a lot of trucks working in the mining and logging side as well, and also for logistics, transporting the goods for your daily use. Those are also trucks working on the road to transporting all your needs to your home. So there are many areas that we use trucks. And when it comes to whether which customer can use this truck, I believe everybody can afford it. But problem is, can they afford the fuel cost? That is a big cost because this Euro 4 truck, according to the government fuel standard, they have to have this premium diesel, which is about double price from the biosolar, which is the cheapest diesel fuel in the market. And this is a burden for them because fuel cost is part of the big operational cost for them. And I'm not so sure if they can afford this expensive fuel cost. If there is no government subsidy or financial support, this will be a challenge for our truck operators.
I think this is something that the government really needs to work out and also to incentivize the automotive industry, obviously, in order to go through their transformation. Perhaps in the beginning it's quite expensive, but in the long run, this is what we have to do, right? We have more or less to achieve this net zero emission. And apart from this truck, what other commercial vehicles are you manufacturing, Jung Woo?
We manufacture here the bus chassis as well.
The bus chassis?
Yes.
And the process is also important, right? Not just the vehicles that have to have low emission, but the automotive industry, the manufacturing of a vehicle, that also needs to be done in accordance to sustainability. Tell me a little bit about how you try to maintain this, reduce your carbon footprint, so to speak.
Yes, of course, we are very much committed to lead the way to the emission-free future as a brand, and this is our big commitment. That is why we are ready for Euro 4 implementation in Indonesia and worldwide. We are actually moving faster to electric trucks and electric buses. When it comes to the manufacturing, of course, it's important that when we manufacture a certain product, we also want to be net emission zero, zero carbon footprint. That is why globally we do have a strategy to change all the energy source for the manufacturing plant to the carbon zero energies. And here in Vanarang, we are also planning to be carbon footprint zero manufacturing in the next 6 to 7 years.
In the next 6 to 7, like in maybe 2030? Even.
Yes, we want to be carbon-free manufacturing here in Vanarang. That is why team is planning the future very hard, which energy source we should use and how to transform our current energy into the new energy that doesn't actually emit any carbons.
Okay, that's fair. I think maybe we can go into a little bit more detail on the manufacturing process towards reducing, because I think it's quite ambitious to reduce it so it's net zero emission in 6 or 7 years' time. What are the main emission producing activity that needs to be sort of reduced as a priority? What are the steps? For example, I mean, we have, like the energy for electricity, energy for just basically, manufacturing a whole vehicle.
Yeah, basically the electricity we are using here is the biggest energy that may create the carbon footprint. That's why we have to now find a way how we can source this electricity with a carbon-free way. So we are considering about the solar panels and other ways to source this electricity and use this electricity inside our office and our manufacturing plant. And at the same time, it's a small thing, but changing the people mindset is also important. So we are also looking at reducing all the consumable things in the office so people can use their own mug cups. I mean, that is a small starting point, but that is very important point for people to understand this path and the importance of the path. So it's all aspects that we are working on this, but mainly it's all about energy, and which is electricity.
It consumes the largest amount. Yeah, I think solar panels is very, very important, particularly since we're here, you know, in Bogor. And waste also. How do you deal with, you know, when we look at a factory like this, there's so many things going on, so many components. What happens to, I mean, do you produce any waste, and what do you do with the waste?
About the waste, we do have a strict regulation about operating manufacturing site in Daimler, and also we follow government regulation about it. So that's the way we actually handle all the waste coming from here in Vanaherang factory. But when it comes to the future, it will be more important. So if we come to, for example, electric truck manufacturing or electric bus manufacturing here, we really have to think about how this electric battery is coming back to our factory and regenerated. Without this, I mean, that will be not really emission-free and environment-friendly product. So this is also a homework that we are working, how to deal with these coming back batteries in the future.
Okay, I think we should take a little break. I'd like to see a little bit more of your factory and how the vehicles are being manufactured. So Jung Woo, maybe you can you can take me to see a different aspect when it comes to processing and manufacturing a vehicle. Tetaplah bersama kami. Final Notes dengan Desi Anwar akan segera kembali.
Because we need to ensure that this bus will run in a right way with the right investment of the equipment.
And remember, we have to go backwards. Kita berjumpa lagi di Final Note. Saat ini saya berada di pabrik PT Daimler Commercial Vehicles Manufacturing Indonesia. Masih ditemani oleh presidirnya Jung Woo Park, dan tadi kita berbicara mengenai pada tahun 2022 nanti Indonesia menerapkan Euro 4 standar emisinya. Sekarang kebanyakan masih menggunakan Euro 2, tapi untuk mengantisipasinya Daimler khususnya dengan truk aksornya sudah menyiapkan truk dengan standar Euro 4. Jung Woo, this is the prototype for the Euro 4
That
truck.
is right.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, this is our first Euro 4 production work done in here Vanaherang. And this is the model 2528 RMC, which is used for the concrete mixers in the market. This one is based on SCR technology with AdBlue tank. So it can reduce NOx level with AdBlue injection in SCR system.
We mentioned all the technical stuff, so this should have lower emission, so cleaner emission, less polluting. And this is going to be on the road from next year?
Yes, from April you will see this model on the road.
How many of them will you have rolling?
Oh, hopefully a lot, hopefully thousands.
Hopefully a lot. And I also noticed as we came in that, you know, you have the bus as well, Mercedes-Benz bus. Now, here in Indonesia, you know, all the buses, if people say, oh, I go by using Mercedes-Benz, it's the bus.
Yes.
Which you also produce. Tell me about the, you know, the transformation to the Mercedes-Benz buses that you're also making.
Yes, we have 7 bus models selling in Indonesia. And out of 7 bus models, we are producing 3 models here in Vanaherang. And those 3 models actually take more than 70% of our bus sales in Indonesia. We are one of the market leader in the bus segment in Indonesia. So you will find Mercedes-Benz bus in city bus in Jakarta or Surabaya or major cities. You will find our bus in the intercity or even as an employee I mean, you may actually ride the employee bus with a Mercedes-Benz logo on it. And for electrification, I mean, we are already starting here in Jakarta. We are in like front row of the electrification of the buses actually in the world. That is why we are preparing for electric bus for Indonesia. And our target is to bring the prototype in 2022. And we bring the fully built electric bus together with Indonesian bodybuilder to the market in late 2023.
Okay, so 2022, we should start seeing more of the Mercedes-Benz electric buses on the road.
Yes. Unfortunately, maybe we are a little bit late compared to other brands in Jakarta, because there are some electric buses, city buses, by other brands already in operation. We had two challenges as a manufacturer. We do have electric bus already in series production in Germany, but regulation in Indonesia is different from European regulation. So in terms of width or size of the bus or weight, because of different regulation, we could not bring e-Citaro into Jakarta. The second consideration was bus business is big, and we have a lot of players in Indonesian economy.
So competition is quite tough.
Yes, and at the same time, I wanted to, and we wanted to contribute more to Indonesian economy in bus manufacturing, meaning that we do have a bus chassis and body is made by Indonesian bodybuilders for best taste of Indonesia. So we wanted to continue this legacy, so we wanted to have electric chassis instead of electric bus, and that is on the way. So in the end of 2022, you will see the first prototype coming.
Okay, so in terms of the technical part, the technical aspects of it, you know, the difference between normal combustion engine buses and the electric buses, you know, what are the steps? And again, the implication to cost, and of course, you know, what does it mean to the company? I mean, you know, this is something we all have to do. I was talking to the governor of Jakarta the other day. He has plans to make, you know, all the public transportation in Indonesia by 2030 should all be electric, you know, vehicle based. So what does it mean for the company?
For the company, we have to actually produce enough electric bus demand, and we have to actually sell it at the affordable price. The current challenge of electric bus are two things. One is what is the price of battery and weight of the battery to accommodate the demand for Jakarta or major cities in Indonesia. Second thing is how can we make this distance right for the route, because Indonesia is a tropical country. You have to turn on AC all the time, and AC consumes 30 to 40% of electricity. So how you can make the AC operation more efficient, that decides actually how long distance the bus can weigh. There are also other considerations to be done, because if we want to operate bus, the electric bus, this actually is at a totally different level. Commercial or conventional buses, you just put the gas in it and you can run. However, electric bus, you have to plan how the route is going, and you have to charge it, all the bus at night. So for example, we always say one bus charging requires like 40 household electricity. So if you have 100 bus charging at the same time at the depot, you can imagine how much electricity is needed. So the special infrastructure of the electricity has to be done to the bus depot, so it can be charged well for the next day's operation. And as I said, IT solutions should be backed up as well, because all the bus should be monitored about their battery status and their route, so that if there is a problem, immediately there can be plan B to finish the route for the customers on the bus.
Okay, so infrastructure is very important. Now, you mentioned one of the challenges is also, you know, the government's regulations and so on. Can you tell us a little bit what, particularly for Indonesia, whether it is realistic for us to go fully electric, at least in terms of public transportation, by 2030, and what kind of, you know, infrastructure that you really need in order to support this? I mean, just, you know, we have a handful of mobile gadgets, and we know we have to charge it, and at some point you also have to change the battery, right? So what are the things, the supporting infrastructure that is needed in order to manufacture and basically a whole fleet of electric buses?
Manufacturing electric buses, it's our job. I think we can actually do the job based on our current existing products. However, we have to put much more effort in consulting the customers or government. What kind of electricity connection we need to stably charge those buses at night. Secondly, the charging stations. We have some reporting that in European countries who's running the electric buses, sometimes the charging is disturbed during the night. And then next day driver comes in and he wants to drive the bus, but the battery is not full, it's low. And to prevent all this, we have to choose the right charging station and equipment. Even the line and thickness of electric line is also quite critical and important for this. That is why we offer the consulting process to the Transjakarta, for example, because we need to ensure that these buses will run in a right way with the right investment of the equipment. And also, as I say, IT solutions are challenged. So what I'm trying to say is, it is not as simple as just producing the electric bus and put it on the road.
Absolutely.
It is much more complicated process for infrastructure and operation preparation and IT solution. When this is all proved and all ready, then I believe Indonesia will be ready for it. And Indonesian market, when it comes to medium heavy-duty truck, it is big and it is growing, and there will be bigger and bigger market in the future. That is why we couldn't just sit there and be satisfied with a niche as a niche market player.
So you have to have the whole ecosystem, and it's not like you said, once a truck is on the road, then you have to maintain it. You have to, you know, basically the aftercare that goes with it, and that needs a whole new industry.
Exactly. This is a different scale of preparation.
But at least you're ready in terms of the production.
Yes. In terms of production and product, we will be ready as per the schedule I mentioned. We are in parallel providing the consulting to the relevant stakeholders. And we also have to educate our bodybuilders, because making the electric bus is different from making the conventional bus.
And fixing. I mean, we have a lot of garage here who can fix, you know, cars, and they offer their services to fix the cars. Fixing an electric car requires a completely new set of training, right?
True. The repair of electric bus or electric truck will also require new technology and new equipment, because high voltage electricity is running. That is why they need a high voltage kind of related equipment and tools with that. And also to repair the batteries or ACs or these electric items are in a different scale than the conventional bus or conventional truck. That is why we also have to put a lot of effort in training our technicians in the market and also bodybuilders.
Yeah, it's very, very important. What about the batteries themselves? Where are you planning on sourcing the batteries? And is there something special about the batteries? And how long will they actually last before you start, you know, throwing them away? And that would, of course, become another waste problem. Jung Woo, don't you agree?
Well, battery technology evolves every day these days. That's why it's difficult to say how long. However, based on our current battery pack produced in Daimler facility, I believe this is actually much more than much long life cycle, enough that you don't have to worry about. And we also provide full warranty for much longer period for the battery. So this should not be the concern. The big concern is how are we going to recycle this battery when the battery is done? And I believe Indonesian government also wants to have the manufacturer responsible for these return batteries, and we are also preparing for the process.
So you are preparing for the return of
Yes,
batteries?
we will also get the batteries returned, and we will also use these batteries for the second life, because there are many ways to use this used battery, or first life is done. You can use this battery for the second life, for the energy storage, for home or other areas.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is what we're all afraid of. You start creating a new problem, a new waste by introducing new technology. I mean, this is this is something that Indonesia has to deal with. You know, waste is also one of the problems that we're facing. But going back to the cost of the buses, you know, just a regular bus, plus in the future, well, next year, end of next year, electric bus. In terms of price difference, maybe you can share a little bit about how much. I know that you know this is, but it's good to have a general view about, you know, the competitiveness of this kind of vehicle.
Usually electric bus or electric truck compared to the same capacity of commercial vehicles with a conventional engine, at the moment it will cost about 2.5 times more. Of course, depending on the product, but usually in general in the market, it's 2.5 times more.
That is a lot.
Yes, but what you have to also consider is when truck or a bus is running on the road, there are a lot of operating costs involved. Of course, with the electric buses or a truck, operating cost is going down dramatically compared to our conventional engines with the oil filters.
Especially
and
if
everything,
the
right?
oil the prices keep fluctuating.
Yes, yes. That is why there's a lot of saving in the operation cost. But still, for the first movers, for truck operators and bus operators, they need some incentive or they need some support from the government. Otherwise, they have to invest a lot in the charging infrastructure, and at the same time, they have to pay a lot for the vehicle, and that is a little bit of burden in the beginning. That is why I believe government is also trying to give better financial solutions for the customers using electric vehicles, but at the same time, I believe if there is a subsidy or incentive for these customers, it will be much faster then we see more electric trucks and buses on the road in Indonesia.
So far, there is no offer of incentives to car manufacturers from the government for companies that want to electrify, or is it being drafted?
I think it's being drafted, and there are some tax incentives for the manufacturers and all the import taxes for the manufacturers. However, in the end, even though we get those benefits are quite small compared to the price difference between conventional engine models and the electric models. That is why I believe there has to be some support for the end users so that they can approach this electric product much easier and sooner.
So, well, let's hope. I mean, I think they should be, because otherwise nobody would want to start electrification, right? If it's like 2.5 times the cost of a normal engine. But, you know, Daimler, I mean, Mercedes-Benz, this is a German brand, okay? And, you know, in Indonesia, I'm sure competition is pretty stiff. Most Indonesians, they go for, you know, Japanese brands or Korean. Tell me a little bit about, you know, the competition and the kind of, you know, how do you deal with it in order to stay competitive, particularly in the truck and buses market?
Before we introduced this AXO model, in the last decades, we were only selling German product imported from Germany called Actros and Arocs in truck market. The problem is these trucks are state-of-the-art trucks in terms of technology and safety and also performance. However, only a few customers could afford it in the big mining site or a big logging site where they have no other choice but to use these expensive trucks. And Indonesian market, when it comes to medium heavy-duty truck, it is big and it is growing.
Yeah.
And
it's huge.
It's huge.
You see them on the road
Yeah.
all the time. They cause a lot of traffic jams.
And there will be bigger and bigger market in the future. That is why we couldn't just sit there and be satisfied with a niche as a niche market player. That is why we have developed this product specifically for Indonesia and in Indonesia. And we satisfy the demand from the market because Indonesian truck market wants reliable and durable but affordable truck. And that is what about this AXO truck offering to the customer. And this is getting good popularity from the market since then. So that is our strategy. And we are happy today to have close to 10% market share in medium and heavy duty because before we introduced this model, our market share was below 2%.
Yeah. But what about your Mercedes-Benz buses? I mean, you said it's your most popular and
Yes.
we see them everywhere.
Yes.
How do you stay competitive in that respect, especially when it's going to be electrified?
I think electric bus will come, and we will provide the best services and infrastructure consulting. That is why we believe we can actually be good in Indonesian market continuously. But with the conventional buses, we were one of the market leader for last 50 years. That is why we are still beloved brand from the Indonesian bus riders and also bus manias. Maybe the key point is our bus is very reliable and durable. That's why our bus, for example, is the chassis. And there are bus operators actually putting the new body and again the new body. So in 3 generations of body, the bus is still used. However, whenever the fuel standard is ready and government is moving forward to Euro 5 or Euro 6, we are fully ready with our truck.
Before moving to Indonesia, you were in Beijing, right? You probably noticed the roads are full of trucks and buses, but some of them are really, really old and they're still running.
Yes.
And they produce very dirty exhaust fumes. What struck you most when you first came from, well, Korea or Beijing, when you come, to Jakarta? Because you see vehicles that you think, wow, how are they still running?
Exactly. Coming from China, I have to explain to you that China is also overloading market for the truck. So I thought in China, wow, we have a lot of overloading trucks on the road. But when I arrived in Indonesia, I realized, oh no, Indonesia is overloading much more than China.
Sometimes double the size of the truck.
Right. And as you said, there are a lot of old trucks. I think overloading is not only the issue about making money, but it is also concern about public safety. That is why we really support government initiative to control this overdimension and overloading trucks in the future. And I think this is the right way to go. And when it comes to old truck, for example, other countries, when they upgrade the emission standard, they also block some of the old trucks with a very low emission standard coming into the city to protect actually city's environment. At the same time, that actually pushes the truck operators to change the truck to the newer emission standard. I think this is something also Indonesia can consider.
Yeah, well, we have to, especially if we want to meet our net zero emission in 2050 or 2060. How long do you think of a truck like this, a Euro 4, standard emission, how many years will it last on the road, particularly in Indonesia? How much mileage can you get?
Well, Indonesian customers have very specific behavior to keep the truck very old, very long. So I see the truck produced in Vanaherang in 1970 still running on the road. Yes. So it's running for 50 years now.
50 years?
50 years.
This is how long?
Hopefully this truck can also run for 50 years. That's my wish. But again, we also have to think about net zero emission future.
Yes, and also Euro 4, but also Euro 5, Euro 6. Now, what are your plans? Because that has to be accelerated, obviously. Is this in the books? Is this something that you're heading?
Yes. Another advantage of having Euro 4 truck with SCR technology is we can already cope with Euro 5. That's why it is quite easy actually for us to move up to Euro 5 as long as fuel standard is ready in Indonesia. Of course, it will take a couple of years, as I said, because we need to develop, we need to test it seriously on the road, and we need to prepare for the series production with a local parts supplier. That is why it takes 2 years. However, whenever the fuel standard is ready and government is moving forward to Euro 5 or Euro 6, we are fully ready with our truck.
So it's not a difficult transition.
It is not for us.
The technology is there.
Yes.
And Jung Woo, like you said, you were in Beijing before coming to Indonesia, and in terms of the automotive industry, you told me that you came around 2018. 2020, obviously, then until now we still have the pandemic. Tell me about your journey, because here in Indonesia we have a growing middle class. It's one thing. Everybody wants to, you know, upgrade their cars and so on and so forth. How do you see the future of the automotive industry in Indonesia, particularly post-pandemic?
I can only talk about maybe medium and heavy-duty truck markets. When I came in 2018, the market was good. However, 2019, we have a little bit sluggish market because of the political turbulence we had, elections and any other activities. Then we were ready for a big market in 2020, so we were fully prepared with all the stocks and plans, and then unfortunately this COVID came, and market really dropped down to the bottom. That's why we suffered a lot for the last 2 years together with the dealers, but we did all the measures to survive this difficult time. And from my point of view, the industry of Indonesia anyway is in the path for the growth. Indonesia is one of the biggest growth potential market, and that's why we will have a very good market in next year and upcoming years. So we are, again, fully prepared for a big market with all the productions and sales plans.
But what about the business, the climate, just like you mentioned, you know, the government regulations, and what are the main challenges, particularly after coming from China, where I'm sure it's much more, you know, clear-cut, the regulation. What are the things that you felt a little bit more challenging?
I didn't think there was more challenging business environment or a business circumstance in Indonesia, because yes, there are some regulations, sometimes not very clear, 100%, it's not black and white, but whenever that situation comes, we can talk to government officials quite honestly, and also we consult them, then we get the good advice and how to actually deal with those situations. Maybe I do have a very great team, that's why we don't have those issues, but so far I didn't find anything difficult.
And like you mentioned that now Daimler has separated its passenger cars, the commercial vehicles. How is it affecting you as someone who has to lead, and also, you know, your plans growing ahead? Obviously there must be particular focus and targets that is demanded of you now that you do this on your own. How is it, how are you doing this?
This spin-off of Daimler Truck happened in the headquarter level, mother company level, very recently. However, in Indonesia, we already separated from passenger cars since 2018. That is why you see all the productions or our sales organization or all the processes are running separately. So we don't have much impact out of this separation in the mother company side.
Okay. Any personal or professional or just company target for 2022 that you can share with us?
Let me say we will focus on 4 things in 2022. First thing is we will introduce this excellent Euro 4 product in Indonesian market, and obviously we have to talk about it to the customers and market. So having aggressive marketing is an important milestone for next year. And at the same time, we will introduce more new models and improved models to have a more footprint in Indonesia. Secondly, we want to localize more models because we want to be part of the community. We want to be part of this Indonesian industry. That is why at the moment, in terms of truck, we are producing 4 models locally, but next year it will be increased to 7 models local production. So we are looking forward to that. And thirdly, we want to expand and improve our dealer network because our volume is growing. Of course, we need to support customers better geographically and also service quality-wise. So that is the effort we are putting on. Lastly, the interesting topic, electric product. We want to bring them late 2020 for bus and for heavy-duty truck. We want to test them in Indonesia. We want to sell them in 2020.
And you are putting yourself on the path towards net zero emission.
Yes.
This is a very important point.
It is important. As I said, there are several steps. One step is Euro 4 introduction, but things can come differently in different sectors. That's why we are preparing in parallel directly to electric trucks and electric bus.
Jung Woo, thank you so very, very much for your time and your insight, and also for showing us your factory. And we wish you all the best. And as I say, the Indonesian government has very ambitious targets. By 2030, it wants to reduce our emission by 29% if it's business as usual, but by 41% with international support. And of course, every one of us, especially the automotive industry, has an important role to play in reducing emission, in cutting down greenhouse gases, so that we achieve our Paris Agreement commitment. Terima kasih banyak telah menyaksikan Final Notes dengan Desi Anwar. Sekali lagi, jangan lupa kita masih dalam masa pandemi, jadi tetap jaga jarak, rajin cuci tangan, gunakan masker, dan sampai jumpa. Bye-bye.